Hey there, I'm Jonathan McKeen-Chaff. I'm the founder of Prepense Business Solutions. Currently, I'm in the role of Chief Marketing Officer at a company called Ready Nation Contractors, and I've done quite a lot. And I put together this economic report with strategic insights, and I want to share it with the world. If you hear some noise in the background of insane toddler, that is my son. He's 3, and he's in the other room with my wife, so he might make some noise. I'm not going to edit out uh, his little craziness because I love him and he's wonderful, and I think it's going to be funny. So, first off, a disclaimer: I'm not an attorney. I am not a financial consultant, financial advisor, CPA. You should definitely take everything that I say with a grain of salt, although I have plenty of experience to back up what I'm saying. And uh, we'll just leave it at that. I want you to consult. I want you to consult legal, financial, and other relative professionals to base your decisions off of. So here's a little bit of background. I started Center Ed, which is a music lessons and academic tutoring company in 2017. And what I did was I would, teach children piano and adults. And while I was starting that, I was 19 years old, 20 years old, and I was like, man, I need to get this thing off the ground. I need to get marketing, and I need to make it work. And it wasn't working. And I asked people who were marketers to help me, and they were like, it's $5,000, $1,000 a month, whatever. And I was like, well, I don't have any money. I don't have that kind of money, especially. Um, that's why I need help. And most of them kind of just blew me off. A couple gave me some advice, and then I kind of just had to learn it for myself. And YouTube University was a godsend. And what I realized was other people needed the help as well. So I started Prepense Business Solutions. Um, Both started with different names. Center Ed was originally something else, and Prepense I originally called it Pine Swamp Consulting, and it always confused people. They thought it was a lawn care service, so I had to change the name. Um, but with Prepense Business Solutions, of course, this is gonna show kind of funny. I think I've helped lots of businesses grow, churches and different organizations. I've helped politicians, um, and I've helped businesses across multiple spectrums: restaurants, trades, construction, developers, health professionals, doctors' offices, chiropractors, and I've helped quite a lot of people. So I have the experience to say, you know, I know a little bit about each of these industries and how. No, I don't know about their professions. I don't know how to do their professions. I couldn't personally, cook you the most amazing meal ever. I couldn't, build you a building personally. I couldn't be your doctor. But what I do know is the business fundamentals of each of these. So we're going to dive into a little bit of history. And let me just remind you of the disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor. Um, and I'm about to kind of sound the alarms, but I don't want this to be taken as me telling you to go sell all your stocks or short the market or anything like that. Um, this is just to give you a better understanding from my perspective, looking at some simple fundamentals of the market. So, first, PE ratios. PE stands for price to earning ratio, and it's the price of the stock versus the earnings of the company which that stock is for. And if you look at average PE ratios, now recessionary periods are outlined here in gray. So you have the dot-com recession in 2000. You have the 2008 recession, which everybody knows that was really bad. 2020, which I don't really think was a real recession. That was it was a blip. It was kind of a manufactured recession. COVID forced the economy into the place that it went. But you look at PE ratios, and they're always trending up before a recessionary period, and then they drop down. And right now, they're trending up. So this is the most recent data here, and this is the S&P 500 30-year PE ratio chart. And then this is the unemployment rates. So unemployment rates, they get low and then they start to trend up. We enter a recession and they skyrocket, skyrocket, skyrocket. Well, highest unemployment. I mean, it's indescribable. So if you look right before the 2008 crisis, we were right around high fours. We started to trend up. We're at the high fours, and then right now we're starting to trend up. So we were below 4, and now we're trending up. They were below. They were high fours trending up into 5. We're below 4, trending up. We're over 4% now. And another thing about unemployment is, I'll go back. I didn't put a slide in for this. Another thing about unemployment is there was something like 172,000 layoffs in just January. Now, some people will be like, well, most of that was from Elon Musk, Department of Government Efficiency. Only a third of those in January were from the Department of Government Efficiency, 64,000, something like that. So a majority, 2/3, were from the private sector. They were not government layoffs. So unemployment is on the rise right now. And then if we look at the housing market, so starting off with lending, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate has a spike. It always has a spike right before a recessionary period. We can see it was going, so it had gone down after the dot-com, and it went down all the way below 5%, and then it trended up in 2005, 2006, 2007, bam, 2008, and it plummets, right? And it just kept on going down, and we hit these historic lows in 2020, but then we start spiking back up, and so the Fed sets these rates. The reason that Jerome Powell set the rates higher is to combat inflation, because on the next slide we'll see, in the coming slides, some stuff about the inventory. But these rates being so high right now are an economic indicator. We can see where we're at right now. I mean, they were the highest right here. They came down a little bit, but these 30-year fixed mortgage rates, they are astronomically high. And not compared, totally to history. There's been plenty of times back in the 90s, the 80s. I know people that told me they were borrowing at something like 18%, something crazy like that. So it's not necessarily that it's the highest it's ever been, but it's that we have a spike, and this spike could be indicative of an impending crisis. Median home price is at an all-time high. We always see a spike right before a recession, big spike right before 2008 when it crashed and the median home price came down and hit that low, and then they started trending up, and they just went crazy. Like, this is the inflation. So this is like, okay, somewhat normal inflation and a correction, somewhat normal inflation, and then what the heck? Oh my gosh, this is craziness. So these home prices are just astronomically high, and it doesn't make any sense compared to the history of the market and compared to normal fundamentals. So then we look at housing inventory across the United States. So we look at, before a recession, the inventory is higher. Now, we are close to, so you had a high inventory right before 2020, and then there was a lack of inventory in 2020. The inventory's only gone up since 2020. It's starting to see plateau right here. it's starting to plateau here. So one thing to recognize is that we hit we always hit a peak, or generally we can hit a peak in the inventory. So this is the houses available to buy. And I mean, the number of houses available to buy are huge. And also a few more things that I didn't put charts in here about, but the commercial real estate market is already struggling. We can see that since 2020, when people started working from home, these commercial spaces weren't as necessary. So that hurt the commercial market. If these layoffs continue, then the the spaces for these commercial offices won't be necessary. That's going to hurt the commercial market. So the real estate market overall, although the commercial market and the residential market are separate, they they will both be hurt if one of them is hurt, even though they're separate. That the market overall, the stock market, the housing market, the jobs market, all of it plays a role with each other. They all intermingle and they all cross paths. So if one market is doing poorly, it may not crash the other market, but it will affect the other market. But what I really believe is that we have a perfect storm coming. And I really believe that first we're going to see the stock market crash, and then we're going to see massive unemployment. And those may come almost at the same time. Then we're going to see the commercial market crash for commercial real estate, and then we're going to see residential market crash. Another thing on the residential market, if we go back to these mortgage rates, one thing about these mortgage rates being higher is that it causes the monthly payment to be more. So these monthly payments, people and prices are also, medium home price being so high causes the monthly payment to be higher. So if you talk to any experienced lender who's been working for at least 10 years, and any realtor, they're going to tell you that people are maxing out their budgets on houses, which is extremely, what I'm about to say is extremely unwise to do. They're maxing out their budgets on these houses to get the house that they want. So we don't have the predatory lending that, you can just say what your income is and get the home. That's what led to this 2008 crisis. And that was Clinton era policy. But what people are doing is they're maxing out their budgets on dual incomes, because a majority of homes have dual incomes. So these homes that were bought on dual incomes, at a max of the dual incomes, the husband makes 80,000, the wife makes 80,000, 160,000. They're maxing out what they can borrow based on the debt to income ratio on 160,000 rather than just on 80,000. One of them loses a job. We go back to this unemployment thing. Unemployment spikes. Let's say that, you know, even 10% of homeowners, uh, households, one earner loses a job. They're going to get behind 3 months on their mortgage payment, and then there's going to be mass foreclosures. So this inventory already being high, inventory, where did it go? Where'd my inventory already being high? When the foreclosures happen, inventory will go even higher. That will drive these home prices down. So you can see how really unemployment, you know, and even the stock market, PE ratios, because when companies start to lose money in the stock market, then they start to lay people off. And then when people start to get laid off, they don't have money to pay for their expensive homes with their expensive rates. And then we see the housing inventory increase, and then we see these prices decrease. You see the prices decrease here in 2008 into 2010. So now that I've given you all the doom and gloom for the last almost 15 minutes, let's talk about what can happen. So I'm going to get a little bit more doom and gloom, but there's going to be hope. So let's talk about who didn't make it in 2008. A lot of construction companies went under, real estate companies went under. The real estate market crashed, so of course construction and real estate went under. One thing that people always said was, the housing market is always going to be steady. It's not true. It can't be true. If something is inflated, then it has to correct. It's not that this thing is, we call it a crash, we call it a recession, call it a depression, call it whatever you want. It's a correction. Things are going to correct. And the fact that we have catalysts speeding this up is an important factor to consider. We have a perfect storm that's being sped up. And Jerome Powell, he talked about, I want to have a soft landing. It's very difficult to manufacture the market for a soft landing. And that's what he did by increasing the rates. But construction and real estate, I think, will do poorly again. Manufacturing, automotive, retail, hospitality and tourism, financial services. But what did well? Industries that did well: healthcare, information technology, consumer staples, so food, household goods, personal care items, all these things did well. Utilities, of course, do well during recessions, discount retailers. So everything that you need, right? And cheap stuff, stuff that's affordable. You just got unemployed. We go back here. Go back. Where's my unemployment? Unemployment. We got all this unemployment. So people have less discernible income. So if they have less discernible income, they're going to buy the stuff that they need, but they're not going to buy the stuff that they want. So if we're not buying the stuff that we want, then what we need to do is, if you're a company in one of these likely to fail, then you have to start looking at, how can I be more like these necessities? And how can I tap into OPM, other people's money? Now, a lot of people talk about that for leverage, for borrowing money, which, it's important to have streams that you can kind of fall back on, having lines of credit and having diversified lines of credit with different banks. Because, like in 2008, there's stories of construction companies who are from Florida, where I am, went up to Georgia for a project, and the project was paid for. The developer had the money. They were ready to go. Big commercial project, multi-million dollar project. 2008 multi-million dollar project is a big project. And they've got their crews there, and then they get a phone call from their bank saying, your line of credit has been suspended, reduced, whatever. Bank of America, did that to people. And that's why I say diversify your lines of credit, even, and do not max out or carry lines of credit. Increase your liquid position, but have a line of credit as a backup to float you. Because generally we're going to see a turnaround start 6 to 9 months after we hit a trough, the bottom of the market. So you have to have, in any of these industries, now manufacturing, automotive, most people who are going to be listening won't be in those industries. But even if you're an employee, start to think about, how can I open up lines of credit now before the recession really hits, before lending dries up? Because when a recession hits, lending dries up. Nobody's going to give you a loan. There were people in 2008, 2009, had great credit history, had great employment history, had a 20% down payment, and could not get lending for a home. Plenty of people. Plenty of people. And there were foreclosed homes that were pennies on the dollar, and they couldn't get them. But if you're an employee, make sure that you're also thinking about that. If you're in retail, start thinking about, how can I start selling things that are necessities? How can I get subscription services? How can I sell based on value? How can I make sure that pricing is good? Hospitality and tourism. eh, what can I sell on value? What can I sell on subscription basis? Same with financial services, value, subscription basis. And also, one thing that I like to talk about is, how can I target people in the industries that are doing well? How can I target the healthcare industry? You're in hospitality and tourism or financial services. How can I start targeting doctors, doctor groups, doctor symposiums? Doctors and nurses are never going to be out of demand. Like, it is such a safe field. Um, like, how can I start targeting utilities or consumer staples or IT? Like, how can I target the things that are necessities that people are not going to get rid of? How can I target those industries? And how can I be more competitive? And that's the next thing that we're going to talk about is this philosophy of marketing that I have. It's called the Cashflow River. Um, the Cashflow River. It's really simple. Think about a river. The water is flowing through your river, and you have four dams. You have to break the dams in succession, because if you break the dam at the top of the river first, it's going to flood into the next dam and flood the banks and kill people. It's going to look bad. If you start doing what we normally call marketing, if you start running ads, doing all that stuff, then you're gonna really do yourself dirty if you don't have the other three things figured out first. Sorry, that's my son banging on my door. If you heard some banging, I think he wants to see me. Um, but the first thing is product, service, and pricing. And that goes back to what I was talking about here, making sure that your product is something that is necessary, your service and your pricing. So making sure that you can give people an offer that really makes sense for them, making sure that your offer is, you know, like, I'm the chief marketing officer for a construction company, and we primarily do roofing, we do water mitigation. We work for insurance proceeds. We do a lot of insurance work. That's using OPM, other people's money, and it takes the burden off the homeowner whenever we work with their insurance. If there's a disaster, if there's a hailstorm, if there's a whatever industry you're in, how can you use other people's money for that? And also, are you priced well? And are you offering a great service? Are you making sure that you are the most competitive, best service, best product out there? Once you do that, make sure that you have the best systems. Systems feed into the service aspect of any business. Making sure that, and there's two separate systems that you're going to need. You need a sales system, you're going to need a fulfillment system. We'll dig into that a little bit more. And then you're going to need training, making sure that there's clear training. Take care of your employees, and they will take care of your customers. And then we talk about message. We talk about the sexy stuff. Now, another way to look at this, instead of a river, look at it as a house. You have to have a foundation. That's your product, service, pricing. A foundation to your house. The Bible says the man who built his house on the sand was foolish, but the man who built his house on the rock, on the solid rock, was wise. You have to make sure that you have a good foundation. And then systems, those are your walls. You got to build your walls next. You can't build the roof, which is training, until you build the walls. Your roof, your training is going to protect you. Your systems are going to hold you up. And then the sexy stuff is what we call marketing and advertising. That's your ads budget. That's your Facebook, your everything, like your BNIs, your chamber events. But don't do any of that. Don't start trying to sell stuff until you got something to sell, until you got a good something to sell, and you know that you can do a good job, and you know that you can replicate yourself as well. You got to bootstrap this thing. You got to make sure, it, you don't want to be fulfilling things forever. So this is, it's, I call it marketing, but it's holistic marketing. It's the marketing within the whole business. So product, service, pricing, I already touched on that pretty well, but before you ever run a single ad, if you have a crappy product, the best marketing will fail, because what you're going to do is you're going to sell it once. You're going to sell it once to everybody, or to a few people, and the word's going to spread. That guy sucks at what he does, or that girl sucks at what she does. They're not good. Nobody likes them. Nobody will like you. Nobody will buy your stuff anymore. They're going to buy it once. A few people are going to try you out, and then they're never going to try you again. And you're going to be ashamed. You're going to have to leave town. You're going to have to try again in a different city. And then you go screw up in that next city. Next thing is systems. If you don't have great systems in place, making sure that you have a CRM, so intake systems, making sure that you have follow-up systems. If a prospect isn't followed up at least 12 times, then they haven't been followed up enough. You got to beat the dead horse. You got to kill that horse and then keep on beating it, and until you know that you've beat all the blood out of it. Like, you got to really go after that thing. And that's what these systems are so important for, is to make sure that you're following up. That's your sales system. But then you have your fulfillment system, making sure that there's checks and balances, making sure that there's constant communication. You can be pretty, like, just average at what you do, But if you communicate with the customer on a regular basis and make sure that there's avenues and processes that ensure that people are being communicated with, making sure that they're going to be automatically texted when a certain task is done, making sure that the project manager or whoever is going to be reminded, depending on how many steps there are to your business. Some things it's a one and done sale, but what's the follow up after that to say, hey, would you like to come back for a discount? Like on restaurants, you get somebody in the door with come try our food, 50% off voucher, whatever, and then, but then are you getting them back with hey, next time you come, have a free dessert? There's a statistic out there. It's something like if somebody doesn't come to your restaurant at least 3 times, so they have to have a good experience 3 times, they won't ever become a regular. You want to get regulars because as many regulars as you can have, you're not going to rely on things like tourism. If you're in a highly touristed area, Florida relies on tourism. But if you're not relying on your local base for a majority of your business, then you may be hurting in the next year or 2 or 3 or more. You may be closed in the next 12 months. And that's where follow up systems come into play. No matter what kind of business you have, hair salon, whatever, making sure that you have a system and give them a little bit off, give them a discount, and say, like, next time you got to try the dessert, we'll give you a dessert for free. We'll give you, oh my gosh, we have a liquor license. Did you know? We'll give you a old fashioned on the house next time you come in with your steak. Like, come on in. You got to try this. Have you tried our special? Like, these things are it's so simple, but it's not done in most businesses. Training is the next thing. um Training, I've seen so many businesses fail. My own business failed. I Center Ed, let me go back to the very beginning. Center Ed, my original dream, my baby. I loved that business so freaking much, and it failed in part because, one, I over leveraged myself. Really dumb idea. I didn't listen to my advisors. But I also failed to train my staff. I didn't train my staff well enough, and I was great at marketing. I got so many people in the door, but the sale wasn't made. We would do a free trial lesson. Piano was the main thing that we taught, and people would come in, and I'd say, have a free lesson, try us out. If I taught the lesson, we got 90% success rate to make a sale. I got 60 leads. I got 56 or 54 uh, sales. That's 7,500 a month. We would have been plenty solvent. But what I failed to do was the teacher that I hired, I didn't train him to do that. I didn't train him to make the sale. I trained him how to be a teacher. Didn't train him to make the sale. And the sale was the most important part. Without sales, your business is going to dry up. It's the lifeblood of your business. Sabri Subi, in his book Sell Like Crazy, he says your main job as a business owner needs to be selling. Like, if you're not selling, Grant Cardone says the same thing. 10x, if you like him, if you hate him, whatever, you got to be selling. You need to be selling. And if you don't have sales systems in place and you don't train people to be salespeople, every single person in your business needs to be a salesperson. That's why training is so important. So we go back to here to training. And also, training is going to protect you. Training, like I said, it's your roof of your house. It protects you. It protects you from the rain, protects you from the elements. It keeps you safe. Because if you have training and somebody does something stupid, you can fire them. And you know what any HR attorney is going to tell you? You fire somebody and you didn't have good training in place. Granted, Florida's an at-will state, but you fire somebody and they didn't have the proper training, it's much easier for them to sue you. Somebody gets injured, they didn't have the proper training, it's much easier for them to sue you. If you're in a high-risk business, they didn't have OSHA training, they didn't have fall risk training, it's much easier for them to sue you. Training is your protection. And there's a restaurant up in somewhere in the, like, Appalachia, I'm pretty sure. I forget the name of the restaurant. McKinsey did a study on it. They have like 60 really successful fast food restaurants, and they have this crazy training program. Everybody comes in, does this really. It's cost them like $10,000 to train every single employee. And they're minimum wage employees. They're making 15 to 20 bucks an hour. They're not making a whole lot of money, but they train them like crazy, and they have a randomized computer system that will pick a random employee at every single business every single day and have them test on something. If they fail that testing, to go back and do more training. And somebody asked the CEO, well, what if you train somebody up like this and they leave? And he said, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? What's worse? What's much worse is to not train them and they stay because they're going to do a shitty job. It goes back to service. The very first thing, if you don't have great training, you're not going to have great service. You don't have great systems, you're not going to have great service. You have to have great training. Training will protect you. Training is extremely important. It's not a cost. It's an investment. You need to invest in training, and a lot of it. And you really, really need to dig into it. Make sure that that nobody has any excuse to make a stupid mistake. They have an excuse to make a stupid mistake. If you're blaming your employees, if you're like, oh my God, this sounds like you. If this sounds like you, my employees are so stupid. I'm miserable. I can't leave the office. I can't take a real vacation. Whatever. If that sounds like you, you're the problem as a business owner. I'm sorry to break it to you. You don't have good training. You've done a bad job of leading. It's your fault. You're the problem. Okay. Now that I've hurt your feelings and you've kept on going, let's go to the next thing. The sexy stuff. The marketing, advertising, the sexy stuff. Everybody loves it. This is what people always want to hire me to do. They're like, build me a website, do me this, do me that, run me a Facebook ad, make me a video, whatever, whatever. It's not what you need first, but it is what you eventually need. Because if you want to scale it, the beauty of advertising is that you can create a sales machine. You can create a great offer based upon the fact that you have a great product, service, pricing, great systems, and great training. Service going to have great experience. You can really, really kill it. You got those other three in place. Marketing is simply this: telling everyone, as many people, about what you do. And if you do a great job at it, people that pay you to do it, they'll tell people what you do. Now, let's dive into this because I know that this is what you really, really want is this whole marketing thing. I call it the funnel monster. That's you on the left there, and that's the funnel monster on the right. It's a pretty scary beast. Nobody really likes it. So this is the funnel monster. We'll call him Mark. Now, forgive my vulgarity. I, I'm gonna cuss a lot in this part because it's driven me to drink a little bit. But so this guy Mark, I named him after Mark Zuckerberg. But he's not Mark Zuckerberg. He's a funnel, and he's a fat bastard. And he shits money if you feed him the right stuff, but you got to feed him the right stuff. So if you don't feed him the right stuff, he's going to bite off your arm, and he bit off your arm. Your business is going to bite off your arm, so you're going to be able to do less, and it's going to be real hard. So the problem is that your arm is missing, so you can only do so many things at once. So nobody really knows the full story of your impediment, but you're totally handicapped. You were probably born this way, but you need to feed the damn monster. You have to be selective of the food source because if you don't feed Mark what he wants, then bad things happen. So, food source. The food source is going to depend on the type of company that you have. So some companies, and it depends on where your market's eyes are. So some companies, your clients are on Facebook and Instagram. Some companies, your clients are going to search for you directly on Google more likely. Some companies, you're going to do better with YouTube. Some companies, you're going to do better with LinkedIn. Some companies, better with TikTok. Some companies, if you're a real estate agent, Zillow. I originally made this part of the presentation for real estate agents. So you have to make sure that you're feeding your funnel monster the right stuff. It's like, dogs. Like a French bulldog can't eat the same kind of food as a Weimaraner, and vice versa. French bulldogs, they're pretty sensitive, and they might die if they eat certain things. A pit bull, I've seen them eat trash. They're kind of like possums. Um, I had a pit bull once. It ate all sorts of stuff. It survived. It even ate a goat once. It was terrible. I grew up in a farming area, so that's a real story for another day. But so knowing your client, making sure that you're feeding Mark the right stuff, he's going to reward you. So Mark will shit money and bionic arms. So he'll give you more ability to do more stuff when you feed him the proper marketing channels based on your ideal client, their purchasing process, and mindset. So let's take just a few examples. I'll talk about. Let's talk about things like roofing. Um, that's not that's something that like you're probably going to do better. Uh, you'll do better with awareness campaigns in Facebook, but if you want to get immediate clients, you're going to do better on Google. And if you work in financial advising or as an attorney, you may do better on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you're a realtor, Zillow is going to be a great place to spend money. And I've heard plenty of realtors say that Zillow ads don't work, but it works for other realtors. So I think you're the problem. Um, if you work in beauty, Instagram, TikTok, like this is so simple. It's dumb. Like where ask your clients, ask your current clients, what kind of social media do you use? Where do you go to look for stuff? Where do you go? And you'll find out. You'll find out. It's very simple. Just ask them. So you tame the beast, you feed him the right stuff, and he's just like a wild Mustang. He starts running. You break a wild Mustang, and they will serve you well in the Wild West. Feed him the right food, and he'll ship money and bionic arms and spawn more Marks named probably Jeff. That's Jeff Bezos. Mark is happy, you're happy, and your spouse is happy. And look at you. You look like a whole new person, mostly because I couldn't find a similar graphic to the last one. You see, they changed. But, you're a whole new person. You have a bionic arm, change the color of your hair, change your clothes. You're wearing a dress now. This one might have been a man. I don't know. But this one, I'm pretty sure, is a lady. And look at all that money. That money on the side, that's the money that Mark has been giving you. Like, look, I love shitting money. That's Mark. He loves it. Loves shitting money. He wants to give you money. So, marketing is really simple. And, you know, uh, uh, something like this is not a place where I can dive into all the stuff that you really need to know. But here's some resources. 3 books that I recommend. Sabri Suvi's Sell Like Crazy. And this is all in your report that you're getting emailed to you as well. Um, if you're watching this on YouTube or something, then click the link below and you can have the report emailed to you. It's 43 pages. It's this presentation on crack. Um, but Sell Like Crazy, you have to go to his website. Just Google it. You'll find it. On Amazon, you can find $100 million offers and $100 million leads. Courses that you should take: 14-day filmmaker. It's at contentcreator.com. It's only $48 last I checked. Acquisition.com. There's 3 free courses. The guy that wrote these books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads. He has 3 courses there. He has an offers course, a leads course, and a scaling course. You want to take all those courses. They're totally free. And I don't get paid to tell you any of these things. Canva, uh, for quickly designing things. This presentation, the the report that you're going to get, a lot of my social media posts are all designed in Canva. Go High Level, it's a CRM. If you want to give me money, I can sell Go High Level to you if you go to prepentsolutions.com. But also, feel free to not give me any money. Just go straight to Go High Level and I won't get paid, I promise. And captions, super easy. It's $25 a month. You pay another $25 a month and you can make AI twins of yourself. It's really amazing. On all the economic stuff, I actually did real research on this, and these are my citations. You'll see this in the report as well. You can go and read every single one of these articles if you want. There's various articles from various times. A lot of them are very recent. And there's things that I even left out of this presentation because I didn't want it to be, 5 hours long. Um, Looks like we're just at 40 minutes. So thank you so much for watching this presentation. Hopefully I didn't bore you to death, and hopefully I gave you a lot of value. If you would like a free session where I kind of just take an hour, sit down with you, talk to you about your business, and kind of give you some insights, once again, totally free. I just want to see people succeed, because here's the thing that I know about economic downturns. Let's go back to a slide with one of the charts. It's PE ratios. Here's the thing I know about economic downturns. The stock market tells us a lot. After every single downturn, actually, let's go to home prices. After every single downturn, it goes up again. It always goes up again. And There is great money to be made in a downturn. And the worst that can happen is you listen to me and you tighten your belt a little bit and get your money right and do a better job at your business and get your business going in the right direction and do a good job. And then let's say the economy doesn't crash and you just become more competitive and you're better for you, for your family, for your customers, for your employees. Like, you're just better. But let's say worst case scenario does happen. Let's say it's worse than 2008. You want to be ready for this because so many millionaires were made in this period right here. In this little gray box, so many millionaires were made. So many millionaires were made on this. But you have to decide that you're going to prepare yourself to become a millionaire in this time. The greatest companies that exist today, Amazon, Facebook, tons and tons of companies, huge, magnificent, multi-billion dollar companies were started in this gray box or pivoted, began to thrive in this gray box. Same with this gray box. So really same with this gray box. Every single one of these gray boxes, every single recession, depression throughout history has put generations into poverty and put other generations into generational wealth. You choose. Thank you.